I think my awakening process, as we call it, started back in the year 2012, which was really because of a more personal thing that happened in my life that started this process of just asking myself, who am I and why are we here? That's how my journey started, which I think is a very important thing to do for everybody. These eternal philosophical questions of who am I, where am I going, why am I here, and what is the purpose of life? That's how it started for me. And that kind of led to researching how the world worked and who was pulling the strings. And as you know, it leads from one rabbit hole to the other, discovering rather horrific truths about many things. And you go through an incredible process of shock and of pain and of initial fear at understanding certain things until you kind of transcend everything that is contained within what we call the matrix, right? You begin to understand that it's all part of this illusionary matrix of control. And then you start sort of detaching yourself from that, which gives you a greater perspective of understanding how we are being manipulated, how our perception is always carefully managed because they need of our cooperation. This is something that people really need to understand. There's nothing to fear because actually without our cooperation, none of these things will come to fruition. Whether it's transhumanism, whether it's whatever the case may be, will never happen unless we actually go with the flow, unless we just follow. Now, the pandemic showed how when you put enough fear in people's bodies, which is exactly what they did, it was not so much about a virus, it was about fear, right? And we could see that when you put enough fear into people's consciousness, people really lose it. They lose all their capacity of critical thinking and they lose their common sense and they just follow whatever they're told. And so I think the good thing about it is that people have become aware of that. You know, when people look back and they say, wow, look what they made us do. And, you know, some people will say, I did that too. How did they manage to put me in such a place of fear that I was able to go with the flow and accept this or that and the other? So it brought to the forefront exactly how much they control our perception, how much they can steer us in whatever direction they want, as long as they feed us enough fear. And I'm hoping that through the process of having just been through that, people will in the future be able to recognize those mechanisms of control through fear. So that was one of the silver linings of the pandemic. There were a number of them, but that was for me one of those things that I thought, I just hope people realize, because it was very extreme and very obvious. And we've now had that distance of time to look back and recognize, oh my God, like everybody just lost it. And maybe we just lost it because 24/7 in TV and radio and every possible way imaginable, all we were being fed is you need to fear this thing, when in actual truth it wasn't what they made it out to be. But yes, to answer your question, my background has helped me, like I said, identify the dots and put the dots together to start forming a picture. And as I did that, and the more I did that, the more I realized everything was really leading to that transhuman future in many, many ways. And a lot of the things that were happening were not just happening for financial reasons, which is a good or a very big part of it. The collapse of the financial system is part of this great reset, which is part of the transhumanist movement. Everything falls into the same sort of grand plan that they have for us. So it is really interesting once you begin to understand how they operate, how they manipulate us, what techniques they use, and you understand the final goal, you begin to see exactly why they're doing what they're doing and for what reason, which is, I think, the only way that we can actually stop all of it from happening. It's just raising awareness. People always say, oh, how awful, this future that you're talking about. What do we do? what do we do to stop it? And I said, the only thing we need to stop doing is following them. It's like, really understand that unless we cooperate with their plans, they can't make it happen. There's
Right.
too many of us. And luckily there's a lot of people that are waking up right this minute to a lot of things. And this is why I am actually very positive about the future.